look like. We could always, it did not work yesterday. It's working. Because it likes you, not me. It says, Prentice is here, we're gonna mess it. All right, just gonna beat this.
You made the news though. Well, that was always fun.
What happened yesterday?
I made the news great.
No, we all was on the news with, it was reporting Channel 12. Just for the breeze, not breeze, the beacon build,
Which one is it gonna be the weekend?
Southwest.
Oh, yeah, that's, yeah.
Okay. It's working. Yay. Of course today it's working, but that's okay. Yay. Yes.
Utensil of which I can write.
I got one, Bert.
I think Mira might.
Oh, awesome. Guys, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Parents, you mind if I just run since we got time restriction? What are you, Parents, you call us to order.
Definitely, it's 9 o'clock, so we call this meeting to order. Brenda Smith, chair of, how do we state that?
The Labor Committee.
I also.
Like go around the room.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Rick Warner, with Local 81.
Kurt Anderson, IAED interim director of the TCIDA.
Ina Arthur with IAED. I'm taking some minutes.
Haley Grasso, new business services associate at IAED.
Fred Swayze, business rep with Carpenter's Local 277.
All right, Greg Mezzi is Texas. He was not available today, and I do not know where Duck Win is, so. Away we go. One thing that I just wanted to touch on is the table that's on page 2. Hey, Doug.
There he is.
No.
It's almost, we just got to that.
Yeah. These guys, 2 of them have a 9:45 departure for a 10 a.m. So we're just trying to cruise along, but.
Excuse me.
Do you all know each other?
Yeah, we met the last time we were here.
Oh, okay.
Haley,
Haley, is that Doug?
Hi, I'm Haley.
Haley is our new business service associate that started on Monday.
Awesome.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So she's like auditing and stuff. And just a point of order, we hired a gentleman who will be the director of business services for IAED. And at some point when we take the training wheels off his bicycle, we'll administer the IDA and the DC.
Congrats on that.
Yeah, he'll start September the 8th, and then he and Haley together will kind of be your supports. Although I anticipate I'll still be involved in the local labor aspect, but it's kind of out there when he gets settled. So,
I'll see you.
yeah, it's consistent for us. So first thing on this list that actually came up recently is page 2. It's the table you have, what I'm calling vendor list. They don't specific title, but the local labor policy, which is actually behind that table. If you look at the last paragraph, I'm sorry, the last sentence of the first paragraph, that the current policy, again, which was updated to reflect Marcus being now the chair of the council. That is the IDA, also encourages the use of local suppliers whenever possible and can provide applicants with a vendor list upon request. So we have heard this complaint in the past, like when any developer, whether it be housing or not, just any developer, when we get their bid list and or bid justification of why they have not secured a local bid, which are requirements of this policy, they say, well, we didn't know. We don't have a relationship with vendors or contractors in that area. So have tried passively over the years to try to get lists, and I realize that it's a pain in the butt to do this, right? To have your list of carpenters that you would suggest, or plumbers and pipe fitters that you would suggest, because there is an effort that has to be made to kind of curate that list annually. Say, all right, who's out of business, who's new, and I totally get that it's a pain in the butt. I think this is, in my mind, this is a really, if we were able to get that list from the trades of the unions, that'd be really helpful. And then we can push that out. And when somebody, in my mind, when somebody comes back and says, well, we didn't know anybody, it's like, well, we've also had a list and we're happy to facilitate those relationships. Instead of, we'll give you a list, but then we never give it to them. And so Prentice has taken initial steps to start getting those. So I just made this rough checklist so that maybe we together, maybe even bring Marcus in, can like track these things down. So here's your curated list of people who support using local labor. Call them. Don't come calling me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
How do you think, what's the most efficient way to go about getting these?
I think when it comes to the local labor, when it comes to using union workers, I think it's just best to call the halls and see who they have that live into the county and the 6 surrounding counties that fall underneath the local labor laws. They would have a list of employees or that they can dispatch. The company or the general contractor doesn't have to be a union.
Agreed.
And just the people that's doing the work
Yeah.
need to be from these counties.
So for instance, top of the list here, in no particular order, but just happens to be the electricians, right? And I never have gotten a list from Todd. Would it behoove me to call Todd? Is Todd retired?
Not retired.
Who's,
Wayne Shipman. Now,
I don't know him.
he just started July 1st over there.
Where'd he come from? He's not
He
been
got
part of.
elected as the.
Oh, he's
business-
been around.
They had their election. Yeah, he's been in their union 14, 15 years and got elected as the business agent to
Okay.
replace that.
That's cool.
And they will have a new organizer too, but I can't remember his name.
I would request their bargaining contractor list. So that should be pretty easy. Almost any business agent or manager from any of these locals should have a list of bargaining contractors.
Each
And then
of these.
Every single one should have a list of all of their bargaining contractors at the flip of an Excel spreadsheet. And you should be
Yeah,
able to get
that's what I've never heard that term before or title before, but that's what I'm looking for. So.
bargaining contractor.
Yep, lists. So for instance, so the dummy can really get this, I would call Wayne Shipman and say, Wayne, I'm with the IDA, I'm looking for your bargaining contractors list so that I have it at the ready to share with future
A
developers.
list of bargaining contractors so that we can share it to future developers or current developers or.
Prentice, because I know you go to those meetings, but this is kind of open to both of you guys, but would it help to first go, I think you got a Building Trades Council meeting coming up, like,
Yeah, we do.
is it next week?
Okay.
To show up and make the same kind of statement and say, hey, folks, FYI, we're gonna start calling you to get these. Is that,
Perfect.
I think that's a better thing than me just shooting out a blank email to people that don't know me.
Yeah.
Wayne specifically.
I think it would benefit. I've shot out
Yeah.
emails, but the last couple months, we've been busy with the Cornell contract and stuff like that.
Congratulations on that yesterday.
Yeah.
I assume when you went up the hill, everybody signed on the dotted line.
Yeah. It was-
Got pass, let's put it that way.
It was cool.
Very good. Okay, so step one on I just think this is gonna be really helpful to our cause, to supporting local laborers, to actually do what we say we're gonna do. And again, okay,
That makes total sense that they can come here. they
So in the
can-
past, I think we relied on that building trades president had all our lists to send that out, where I think if it's you, although you have to contact for that building trades president, but to say, hey, I want all these, and then I'll be at the table.
and as you know very well, certain union reps, I love Todd. He's got a great sense of humor. He's not great about emails. So that's not me just emailing. It was probably not going to go anywhere. Or I can guarantee you it has not gone anywhere for 5+
I think the
years.
talk is tell each of those individual trades at the meeting to say, we just want to redo this. So we have a
Updated.
updated and
26 list.
we're making sure we are helping to facilitate them getting the information that they need to reach out.
On that, talking about updating, is there a standard practice of schedule of updating? Like, is it done annually or just like as needed ad hoc? Just so I'm aware, so maybe we put a tickler in there that say, January of every year, we start circling back around. Has anything changed? I mean, is there a schedule or is it just kind of as needed over time?
I think if organizers are doing their job, we should be adding to that list every year. And I think that the new contractors that are added to that list would very much appreciate to get to be on.
Should be updated, yeah, for sure.
Updated.
Does that happen at a Q1, for instance, or?
I think it's just as
Okay,
as
so-
somebody pops on.
Okay, so maybe if we set some arbitrary reminder date
sure,
for
yeah.
ourselves internally and then just
Exactly.
come do that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
That's not a hard ask at all. So hopefully that can.
Well,
I'm surprised that
you
don't-
would think it wouldn't be, but it has
Yeah.
been. So, but I appreciate your help in doing this. That's
I
gonna
can tell you that
peace of mind.
as the local, we have that list at least updated every time we go to bargaining of who's gets swapped out. So I mean, that's a.
Yeah, that's good. And it's very, I just probably approached it the wrong way. I figured, well, I'll just keep asking Todd and then it's easier for me to sit back and be like, well, Todd hasn't done it. I'm just done with
Well,
that.
we've given
We're gonna,
a lot of lists over the years, so I don't know where they went.
so we're gonna make that our responsibility, but I will start with the Building Trades Council next week and then start
I
following
think
up.
the selling point is, hey, we want to help facilitate. So we're gonna be,
Totally.
we're gonna be kind of involved with that.
Well, and to credit of, we had a public hearing yesterday for the Beacon Affordable Housing Project proposed for Southworks. That's now still in public hearing phase just due to some technical glitches. But Prentice brought it up at the July the 8th meeting of the IDA, and he says, and we're going to talk about this in a second, that affordable housing at a certain percentage of affordable units is exempted from the local labor policy. And Dan from Beacon followed up later. He's like, hey, I like, we do want to be proactive in getting local labor. Do you have, I see here, you have this list. And I'm like, well, it does say that. So I don't think he's alone. I mean, I mentioned earlier as more of like a punitive or like, don't come looking for exemptions for me if you haven't called these people. But I also have to hand it to folks who want to be proactive and who want to do that, even if they are exempted from it. So anyway, all right, that's any further comment or question on that? Okay, so the real reason that the primary reason that we are together today is talking about establishment, at least having preliminary discussion, establishment of a workforce training fund. So for those who are not aware, a project that was subject to the local labor policy fell well short of that policy, and the IDA at a meeting prior to my reign had come up, I think, with a good, the percentage below the required amount is what you're going to pay in penalties of the assessed or the benefit package. I have not yet gone in deeper of, Rick brought up a really good point. I just have not had time to do the math of this of where is that inflection point of like, it's just going to be cheaper to pay that penalty and not have to worry about local labor. Right? I have not done that math yet, but I will. And I promise you can put that in the minutes too. I will definitely do that. But the fact of the matter is we have penalty money sitting there, right? And the IDA has so suggested that we use that for a workforce to develop seed money for a workforce development fund, if you will. We also have Yellow Barn Solar. That's the YBS that you see in yours that I'll call it good faith payment. I don't know if it's truly good faith or if it was part of the deal that they negotiated with the state, but they also, it's a healthy 6-figure contribution they want to make towards local labor utilization, not specific to electricians or solar related, but just in general. So you have penalties, you've got what I'll call good faith payments. And it has been bantied about and used with great effect elsewhere as a potential for a developer fee, right? So the IDA takes a cut of any project that gets approved by the IDA. The attorneys take a percentage of that. It is not outside the realm of possibility to think about 0.5% or 1% of total incentive package paid into a fund like this. The question is kind of how best to populate that fund, and maybe it requires some math from me. On the average project incentives package is 15 million, 0.5% of that goes into this, and it would take some beta testing with developers as well, or I guess suppose the IDA could decide to do whatever they felt like doing. They will say you'll pay 10%. They could, right? But we also need to be realistic about the financial effects. But
And you're talking about this in like a penalty situation.
no,
Or just say.
just an upfront, like if part of
No matter
your,
what to do business, however.
you pay
checks out, you're
0.5%
paying
of
the
your
same way.
tax incentive package into a fund that supports workforce
And
development.
then if you fail in the rest of the policy, you're gonna get hit again, so on and so forth, right?
It's certainly possible.
Don't meet your requirements.
Yes, then you would,
Not in the guideline.
then you could potentially move into that penalty like a recent project. But you're looking up for
At an upfront one time, hey, to do a business.
that is, it is a possibility. So I'm bringing this to this committee first.
It's coming out of the reduction in overhead costs that they have for the project anyway. So I would think that it's just trickling back towards where it's almost coming from, but reallocating towards this workforce
Sure.
development thing.
Sure. So the fact of the matter is we have, for round numbers, $100,000 of penalty money that the IDA has suggested they want to spend on workforce development training. All right, there's that.
Which is 3/4 of what it actually takes a yearly workforce development.
Oh, I can assure you, I have.
Not even maybe half.
Right, so for a rough rule of thumb, and I can't remember if this is manufactured, I know you jump in here, but rough rule of thumb to run one cohort of an 11-week training is,
For Tompkins Build,
yeah,
about 185,000.
so say $200,000. A 11-week training is $200,000.
One person.
No.
Oh,
All of the.
Everybody, the whole thing.
Jeez,
Guys,
You're gonna make it.
Trainers.
Oh, you bet make it.
Money, all the money. Salaries.
Yeah, so we currently run 3 cohorts and Mira's on the precipice of a lot of money coming into that program, but ours, keep in mind, and I want to make this very clear publicly and in the minutes, ours is one workforce training model. We're not the only one. I mean, would we love that money? Could we put it to good use? Definitely. But how to populate it? Maybe I need to do some math on what our goals would be for a fund that then maybe spins off 1% of that towards workforce. I don't know. This is what I want to get your opinion on, and how to govern that. Realizing that IAD is the administrative director of the IDA, and yes, we do have a workforce training program. But that doesn't mean all the money should come to us either. So really would like to hear your thoughts on, preliminary thoughts on how we would do this.
My first thought would be for like all the workforce development agencies that we have in South County to apply for some of that money when needed for their specific office or branch, whatever they do.
So like an application process
Yeah.
to just poking to the IDA, to this labor committee or some subset?
I would think subset, but I think anybody that has workforce development in their line of what they do should be able to apply for some of the money.
Yep. It's just kind of open-ended discussion. Doug, you have any thoughts?
Does that concern you with that time, or would you prefer maybe do application?
No, maybe if we had like not like a rolling application process, because that would get really frustrating,
Right.
but more standardized, maybe 1 or 2, and these don't have to be, at some point, these don't have to be, 6-figure asks. They can be like, look, we right now, based on availability, plan to do $100,000 annually, and the maximum ask is 20, right? Like, it helps.
Yeah.
One team that I would suggest, if in fact the review committee is formed, we should also involve our workforce development board, Chris Bond specifically. It makes sense, right? Yeah, I'm gonna just want to make note that that would be a good partner to include on some review committee. And we need to make this as easy. This is not the federal government.
Right.
Like, come on, right? Like, let's
You
make
have to
it
have
simple.
To have some guardrails, you know,
I agree.
and, you know, make sure everybody's on the same page and however that evolves, you know, through discussion and what everybody can kind of agree on. Maybe it's just a committee that's made up of one or two individuals, each one of those sections, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, somebody from like I'm gonna be on with Chris on that workforce development thing, right? So maybe it's somebody from there, and then it's somebody from the labor committee, and then somebody from this, you know.
Yeah, like just a couple people,
Yeah.
Right,
like let's
everybody's
let's not overthink it.
right, two or
Yeah,
three
you're
people
right.
from each, and just say, hey,
Yeah,
gotta review these, what do we think? And we're approve and pass on to where that next.
How many different workforce development agencies in Tompkins County are we talking about?
well, can I think of, so there's our program, there's the upcoming Ascend workforce team up there at Southworks, which is like designed to be like a 2 weeks specific certification. So they're part of this $1 million, $1.5 million grant that we're putting into OSWD. It'd be like a 2 week like forklift certification or something aero barrier, I guess, some sort of ceiling thing. Like it depends. They're going to do very specific curriculum that's could be union or non-union. It's just like, oh, if people are looking for those certifications, we'll put that on up there in the active work and construction environment up there. But I can think of several of our support partners. So we partner with Tompkins Learning Partners for academic mitigation. We've got Westcott Community Center, which is actually out of Syracuse, but that funds our Vehicles to Work program. So they pay for license restoration, vehicle repairs, stuff like that. Workforce at some point may want something for a summer, either youth summer employment. They got a whole bunch of other things that they do. I bet if Mira was in here, she could spout off 6 or 8 others. So it's not, at all scale, ours is a comprehensive 11-week exposure to trade unions, but it could come all the way back down to like helping people do algebra. That is related, for the construction trades, big to little, really. So a bunch.
And like you said, with that pool that you're generating of funding that these entities could tap into, do you say, there's a maximum cap? So if one entity doesn't drain it out,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
What I could do for your benefit, and I actually appreciate that we've already met now twice. Like it used to just be once annually. Like, well, do we need to update the policy? But like, this could be the start of something really good. And I'll say, $20,000 less, we'll use it. It'll go quick.
Right.
But when we were trying to redistribute some of an existing grant that we know expires on September the 30th, we called Tompkins Learning Partners. We're like, what do you need? What money can we give you right now while we have the opportunity? And, for them, they're like, oh man, $9,000 would be like transformative. So, I mean, it is scalar, right? It's all important and it matters differently to different organizations. But yeah, I'd say there's a cap, and I wonder if I might offer to you to just do some very basic kind of projection modeling. We know we have a penalty. I could look at some of the math of like, what might other future penalties, ideally we stay away from that. What might that look like? Get into the details of, and I regret I did not, just due to scheduling, further had conversations with Yellow Barn Solar about what was it that required you to make this good faith payment, or where did you come up with that figure? Don't quote me. I want like $300,000. I don't know where that number came from, but also even do a little bit of modeling based on the average incentive package and look at like what would 0.5% of that be upon application, right? And like just look at what that number might be, and then that may better inform our, we anticipate we should probably do $100,000 a year, and then we aren't you the treasurer of the pipe fitters now?
I'm on the executive board now. It's once the president, but I have seen some funds.
Well, we would probably, this committee or whoever is established to cover this would also want to look at what our fund balance is and how much outlay we're doing, all that stuff. But
I can tell you from my past experience, sitting on my town board where I lived, that our county legislator would come through and they had something similar, like a pool of money that was generated through a deal they made. And each legislator for their district was given an allotment of that money. And then let's say he had 4 in his district, 4 townships, and he'd come to and say, I have a total of this and you're kind of capped at $5,000 if you need something, and send the letter or whatever and it'll be approved, and then but you got to have some reason why you were using it, right? We're, upgrading the lighting in the town hall one time to LEDs, when, that money helped offset that. So that, it just kind of was something, that you could work off from to say, hey, and you were kind of alluding to it. Hey, we've got X amount of money left. What do you need? Do you need something? We want to utilize the money and
I would advise us that governance committee should it be established. So really your committee recommendation when we should have another meeting on this. So I would suspect we'll go to the IDA and I probably dig it, right? But then how do you govern it? But we got to keep that application simple.
Yeah.
I mean, we here can write a multi-million-dollar grant, but Commons Learning Partners, for instance, is like very staff limited. And let's again, just a simple explanation of what you're seeking to do and what other resources this leverages. Let's just not overcook
to
it.
have a standard blueprint of an application.
Yeah, well, we would do that.
Or send the application.
ID on behalf of the.
One page, boom, 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 explain what you need. And where that county legislator would say, just send a formal email on town letterhead explaining what you need and, how much funding you would need to contribute or to pay for the whole thing.
About, so the United Way, we would also have, we would have the agency report back how things went.
Oh, you required, yeah.
Yeah, but again, it wouldn't have to be super formal. I think we were too formal, frankly, for these small organizations. It's just too much writing to be worth a few $1,000s, but, again, accountability.
Yeah.
I think it's the biggest piece, the accountability, how, in this day and age, as we know, everybody's watching everything to make sure there's no fraud, right? And that everybody, the balance is out. Nobody's getting something more than the other group or whatever, it's kind of they had a policy, this is the formalities, we applied, we have just a checklist all the way down through that says, yeah, they got their $5,000, they bought, a couple of new iPads or whatever they had to do for what they were doing, and here's how they're using it, and then approved what they were doing.
Chuck, your experience in that United Way process, we sidebar also managed on behalf of the county, though this is our last year, the tourism capital grants program. The application is it's lengthy.
Right.
The total fund balance is $250,000. So if I make a little side note here that, should this advance, or maybe you could help us keep the format simple. So it's just, so it's not a barrier to participation because we've overcooked it. Any other thoughts on our experiences on how to do this, who should or should not be involved? Obviously, if someone on that review panel was putting in an application, they would need to recuse in some way.
You just need a process on notice of funding availability. So it'll be more work for you, but it doesn't have to be crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a pot of money, you have till this deadline.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. And call if you got any questions or whatever. Yeah. It just seems like this could be a really cool opportunity to get involved in and communication wise for you all through this committee, even if you're not on the grant committee, to know what's going on around here.
All right.
And maybe even your individual halls have some training that would be beneficial or something. And I don't know, but it's a good problem to have, I suppose.
Mhm.
It could also set a standard of other funding streams that come in somehow, some way to you, that are appropriated to the state or federal, whatever, that sets a standard of how we have this checks and balances of getting the money to the appropriate people. And then just a reasonable format and what they need and based on needs and whatever, you're talking just this pool money, but there could be other pool money available at some point. That's got to be facilitated by the IDA or whatever that,
Yeah.
stipulations are. Your workforce development's got to be part of this, they're drawing from this pool money, or whatever.
Probably too premature to bring this up, but will be a thought for later is you front the money or ask for reimbursement? And there's pros and cons of both of those. One thing we have found with tourism capital grants is, the capital side of the house, not the planning. We don't need to talk about that, but the capital side of the house, you come to us with a proposal. It's the way the county governs it. Rick, you were awarded by the committee $50,000. On day of signature, we're moving money to you. 4 years later, due to whatever reason, you still haven't finished that project. That is frustrating because that money really should be deployed and not locked up. And we have one meeting with later. But one thing that they, though not written, have astutely come around to is don't come back to me until you've spent that money.
Yeah.
Right. But that had been abused previously of, we'll get to that one, but we've got this other really good idea. And then the committee likes it. And now you've got an organization that's just not doing any of it, but has locked up a lot of financial resources.
Well, it's like the ARPA money, the American Rescue Plan money had come out to everybody. You had a certain time to spend it.
Sure.
And they, although they put guardrails on it, right? You just, I think it was by 26, you had to use it. 25, I can't remember, and it was always a race at, when I was on the town board in the county, it was a race. We have this amount of money left. Who, that was reached out. What are you looking for? What do you need? I'll use an example. The county gave our township an extra $250,000 to finish our internet.
Where do you live?
In Manhattan.
Oh, you're in
Chemung, right.
Yeah.
So, and then with our ARPA money, we had to, so, if you had some, you also have to have them guardrails on it because when people sit on it, utilize it to balance their budgets and
you just scared me. The further consideration later is like reclamation of unused, like I don't want it.
No, we don't have to go down that road,
Hopefully the committee can vet everyone and.
but I think you were on the right track. Hey, have you show us that you've used this money up?
Then don't come back to me.
Yeah, don't come back. I think that's the simplest,
Right, but fool me once, shame on you.
Right.
Fool me twice, shame on me. Okay, so I have it on mine to kind of do some financial projections and get some explanation from Yellow Barn Solar or what that may inform what we may expect from others in the future. I don't know the terms of that good faith deal. And I can definitely, due to the project that's still in public hearing phase, Beacon, we've been looking back at some of the data over projects over the last 10 years. Would not be difficult to model, what 0.5% would look like based on average price or type of project or whatever. Just as a food for thought. And then you look at that number and say, all right, well, how much do we anticipate reasonably we would need, or is that too much or too little, or whatever, but.
Yeah.
Good problem to have. More reason for us to hang out. All right. So in the spirit of time, 9:32. The last thing that, so I'm going to do some work and I'm going to reconvene us and relatively soon, not like next week or whatever, but nice to give a little update to every monthly meeting of the IDA where we're at on that stage. So let's just keep moving the ball forward. So we're not 6 months later, we haven't done squat on it. You guys are all right with that? I'll have snacks at the next meeting. I like snacks.
Got to increase attention.
You have coffee if you need coffee. And tea.
Apprentice, next topic, the local labor policy, which you do have in front of you. And this may be more complicated, but during the hearing on July the 8th, and I don't expect board members of the IDA to remember every policy and what the rules are, but Beacon is the affordable housing project in Southwest, 230 units, 100% affordable, so 80% AMI or less. So they are by right, they are exempted from the local labor utilization policy. As I mentioned earlier, he did call later and say, "Give me the list." I mean, we want to be a good partner, but they are not required. And Prentice made a joke, which I was tongue in cheek about, oh, maybe we need to change the policy.
Exactly.
I want to get your thoughts on this, but I want to add one little caveat that this would also require, I think, if you may disagree, engaging the housing committee of the IDA as well. I was not, and I don't remember why. I mean, we need housing, specifically affordable housing or workforce housing as defined in some categories, but the reason that my understanding is that it was exempted from this policy because it's such a priority for this community that we really did not, we wanted to set the barrier very low for affordable housing.
Yeah, it was like incentivize affordable housing, but also acknowledge the margins, I think.
Yes. And so,
Which is,
so I want your opinions, I guess, but I just want to note that we should probably at some point talk to the housing committee or have a representation from that housing committee on this discussion on whether that is still necessary, that type of incentivization.
My thought on that is from just past going over some of the numbers that we've done from the projects that have been built, that they can meet 33% without even trying when it comes to local labor laws. So I think that right there, close to that right there would be an awesome starting point for us to keep some of that money that developers are spending to build projects in our communities to give back to the people that live in these communities as far as the workers. If we have the workers here, we can perform, we can build these projects. So I can't really commit to using more of the local people that can build these projects.
So, Prentice, if I'm understanding that right, maybe like not necessarily 75% local
Right.
labor, but a different.
Definitely 75%, I understand is high, but I think we gotta start somewhere with the process and maybe we can get there. I mean, it's further down the line, but
Yeah.
we have to have a starting point is where I'm at with that.
yeah, no, I mean, the whole point of the, local labor committee in this is to make sure is basically we have a workforce and we want that workforce to go to work. If there's no incentivizing stuff happening there, to do that. But if they fall short because we can't provide the labor, then we have this workforce development that we're pumping into to kind of recreate and because everybody, most of these guys sitting at the table, we have 5-year apprenticeship programs. We have some of the best workforce development
No doubt.
happening, pumping out a lot of people. It's just a matter of people being aware that those exist. So we really like putting money into the advertising that these avenues exist for people to get into, to go to work, to be able to work on local labor stuff. So then when we get these big now, our big push is to find homes that these workers could live into. But then the homes that we're really pushing to get into aren't the ones that they can go to work and do. It's like we're almost missing our goal a little bit, trying to let not only not having local labor do it, but, reducing the quality of those, which also reduces the quality of those buildings a little bit too bad. So hopefully we can get that, we can work on getting those numbers up to be incentivized across the board to these even cheap housing to an industrial solar farm that's, profitable. Just looking at that wheel, we have the local labor. If you miss it, don't do it. You couldn't find it, you get penalized or good faith or we're taxing you to be able to educate people that there's avenues to get into because there is a labor shortage right now in the world. If you want a job, you can get a job in the construction field pretty easily. We're hiring for sure. So I feel like there's an open gap. We just need to throw more people in there, and there's people that are unaware that those opportunities exist. So the education that those opportunities are there, I feel is the biggest versus trying to get a certification in something, because every one of those locals have every certification that you need for any specific craft to build the whole, these whole buildings. But
Do keep in mind that those certification programs are agnostic.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So maybe
anybody can snag them for sure.
So I would be interested in meeting with the housing from the IDA. because there's questions that they could answer probably as you're asking, you know. One of my things, I talked to Apprentice a little bit in our breaks at Cornell negotiations, we had a lot of long breaks.
A lot of cigarette breaks.
Lot of coffee. That, you know, I look at it as projects like these allow the workforce to grow, whether it's a union or non-union, right? And if you have that where there's some sort of I know you got these affordable housing, we're not going to exempt you completely from the local labor. You got to utilize local workforce, and we're saying all the right things. But let's take it from a union standpoint. The argument could be, even from a non-union contractor standpoint, they don't have enough people. Well, from the union standpoint, we can get people, but we got to have the work, right? And a private project like that allows apprentice to journeyman ratio really fill that gap. And you're growing the union, the contractors, the business also. You know, if we don't have an opportunity for a trade to be on the beacon, let's say, and add, let's say, 50 extra people to the union and to the contractor payroll to facilitate that work up there, it's creating a hole, right? But it gives, because there's no apprentice ratios really on those projects governed by the state prevailing wage laws, you know, that you could say we're going 1-to-1. So we can get the people. You need 50 electricians or 50 carpenters. We're going to have them there. We'll have you X amount of journeymen, and we're going to backfill with people from workforce development, the cohorts. You know, we're going to bring in apprentices. Kids are just graduating. That's how we're going to fill that and give them their jump start, right? And then they're off and running from there. But another piece of it was, is there a money threshold that you could add in there? Because there is always monies coming from someplace, whether it's homes and community renewal money, something.
Affordable housing, almost always.
Right. So what stream of funding is coming from the state or from the federal? How much is being injected in? How much is the developer putting it up? How is that all being come together? And if there was a threshold of money, well, if you're getting over 50% or 60, 70% from the state, we really want to inject a local labor policy, you know. Does that make sense to you?
And I'm not gonna be able to answer that off.
No, but you know what I'm saying? Is it some, a piece of discussion of, you know, if the developer said, hey, I'm only getting 25% of this state or federal money and we're putting up the rest and we're going to have market rate, affordable housing, not market rate, affordable housing, excuse me. And, but all of a sudden you see, yeah, we've got a 75% federal state funding and we're putting up the rest. And, you know, well, hey, we really would like you met this threshold to really utilize the local labor.
Huh. You're gonna make me do math. The capital stacking, which is like my eyes go across. This is what Haley will figure out later.
You know, did Beacon, you know, because it's on the forefront, it's the next set of affordable housing.
It's a good example.
Do we know how much federal, state or money they're getting?
I have or can get that. I'm not gonna be able to spit that out.
Right, but they have, that numbers are out there, did they?
To someone who's fiscally conservative, it's a lot of money.
And I'm sure
On a scale of like, that's a lot of money.
I'm sure you could, there's other ways we can find out, but you know.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
it's part of the
project right down here off 13 there, that's got the big sign homes and community renewal. So I'm sure that the Crystal project, that's going to, that obviously is advertising, it has money in there from the state. Because the state always says, oh, that's exempt, there's no prevailing wage on that. Okay, that's fine, we understand that. I have my own arguments on that because
they're not listening yet.
Well, I feel that, you know, that prevailing rate, if you even attach prevailing rate to affordable housing, I don't see where that's the argument's always back. Well, if we put prevailing rate on there, it won't be affordable housing. Nobody's yet to prove to me that, you know, when I ask the question, you know, that's a whole different conversation. But, you know, how do you utilize this policy, affordable housing, and have that conversation, all parties involved, to define a policy that is trying to meet all the things that we said about today in some sort of capacity. And that's going to be a hard one.
This one I
can be a lot of debate.
Guarantee it'll be a little bit pricklier.
So it's everybody's going to make it.
Duck, any thoughts? I have a comment to make, but Want to make sure.
I like this idea, which at least loadable.
Yeah.
Like all the exemptions and everything will still apply.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see, I've heard among members of the IDA board, not that we've solved the affordable housing issue, that's not the case, but that the IDA should, the focus should be, for a while there, it was really affordable housing. And that's still important, and we're actually, just the point I want to make, the IDA is helping fund a revamp study from the county, and where like the IDA is still very much involved in housing. But I've heard from members of the IDA governing body that they think that we should shift to focus on jobs, job creation and those things, or at least have an increased focus on it. Not setting aside workforce housing, but just having, I'm sorry, Doc.
Yeah, so not the expense of.
Yes.
As I'm sure most of you are aware, there is like this statewide conversation about should IDAs, first of all, are IDAs even allowed to be in housing? We could have been doing this illegally.
Oh, shoot.
But is that the point of them? They're supposed to be for industry, kind of like go after it for housing. I think in a very good way, positive way. But it is a way to kind of return to the roots of the IDA mission.
Yeah, job creation, right, okay.
Right.
Okay, so I have some homework items. I guess to recap here, because it is 9:45, I want to get you out of here. I'm going to show up to the Building Trades Council next week and mention the vendor list and make calls, but if you would be aware, and if I could solicit your support if I'm having trouble.
I'll nudge Marcus beforehand.
I don't think I'll have any problem with Marcus, but he's the doer, which is helpful. I will do some kind of look at some numbers regarding the workforce training, maybe even just kind of summarize a few notes on our very preliminary kind of simplified process for how to do that and who would govern that. Share that with you for your thoughts, and then I will give some more thought to the housing committee. We may at our next meeting. I think Duck, you may be on the housing committee.
I was, but I'm not.
Yeah, so but perhaps we can have a kind of a cross conversation with that group or a subset of that group, just to start talking. And I could also give you an update on where and on what timeline the IDA is supporting this broader housing evaluation, whether we've already done it. So I have homework for you, and you are free to go unless you have any closing comments.
Another 3 months before the next meeting.
Say that again?
Another meeting in 3 months or 4 months or something like.
Oh, I'm okay if it's long before that.
Okay.
Probably, let's maybe try to get together before right around Labor Day, maybe ish, so it doesn't conflict with just little meetings. They don't have to be, novels. Just get together.
I think quick meetings like this, if somebody can't make it, hey, I can't be there in person, can I get on this?
Yeah. No,
no
problem. It's just, but you guys have a really cool opportunity, I think, to do something that's neat, that's good benefit. Benefits everybody, the union and non-union too, so. Okay. Chris, you want to kill this thing?
I'll make a motion. Do you need a motion?
I don't think so.
I just didn't know how.
I like it though.
I'll make a motion.
Your adherence to Robert's rule.
No, I think everybody being here today and we are adjourned.
Thanks, friends. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.